Podcast Answer Man, episode number 354.
Entertaining, educational, and encouraging content that makes a difference. This is GSPN.TV. Join the community.
Hi, this is Cynthia Sanchez from the Oh So Pinteresting podcast. You are listening to Cliff Ravenscraft. He's been taking podcasting to the next level since 2005. He is the Podcast Answer Man.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Answer Man. My name is Cliff Ravenscraft, and this, my friends, is the podcast devoted to taking your message, your business, and your life to the next level. That's right, it doesn't matter if you're brand new to this online content creating world we live in, or if you've been doing this stuff for many years, there's something we can all do to take everything we do in life to the next level. That's right, my friends, and we are going to take things to the next level. Once again, this week, I am excited to bring to you the show that we have prepared. Real quickly, I want to give you a rundown on the topics that I plan on including in this week's podcast so you can make a decision for yourself right now. Is this going to be worth my time? I promise you it will. Anyway, we're going to talk about creative ways to invite guests to come onto your podcast, or at least I'm going to share one story that will hopefully inspire you to find creative ways to invite guests to come onto your show. Clark Gaither has some pretty exciting things that happened in his world recently, where he was interviewed on terrestrial radio and was converting the radio show host to podcasting right there in the interview. Also, I'm going to give my recent thoughts on reading. My particular reading habits and how I'm reading, and that's always it seems to be evolving over time. And then Dave has a question about whether or not it's legal or what legal ramifications there are for using people's voices or voicemail messages in your podcast. You might be surprised at my answer. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. And then, of course, I'm going to have Eric J. Fisher, my social media correspondent, join me for a portion of our show here for the social media segment, talking about Twitter's brand new web profiles. Did you know you can actually change the way your profile looks on Twitter? We're going to talk about that today in this week's social media segment. Hey, first thing I want to talk about is something that I saw from my good friend and also podcasting A to Z alumni member, Christina Canters. Now, Christina is absolutely one of the most creative people I think I've come across in a very long time. She actually has a podcast that she created after going through podcasting A to Z called Design, Draw, Speak. Actually, wait a second. I don't think that's the name of it. Her website is designdrawspeak.com. That I am positive of. But I think her podcast is actually, I'm looking up here real quick to make sure. Actually, the name of her podcast is Presentation Skills for Design Students. But one of the things that she does is she's actually interviewing a lot of people who she admires and wants to share their insights of the people that are really at the top of their game when it comes to presentation, public speaking, and stuff like that. And she has found some pretty creative ways of inviting guests to come on our show. Now, I've heard of things like Jared Easley, a good friend of mine, who sent a ball in the mail to Dan Miller and also to Seth Godin, and I'm sure he's probably even done it to other people, where he literally hand wrote in a Sharpie marker on a bouncy ball, one of those big, huge rubber balls, and he learned that you can send those via the post office. You don't have to box them or anything. They actually will deliver a ball. I think I'd heard a story about that years ago. Somebody did that with to get interviewed, but Jared put that into practice to help get noticed by some of the people that he wanted to interview for his podcast. And I know that Christina Canters has been doing some very unique things. One thing she did was create one of those little flip books with like Post-it notes, and you flip through and it's, this little animation flip book thing that, where she wrote and this message of, this is why I would love to have you as a guest on my show. And I think she had hand delivered that. I found that on her Facebook profile, but the other day I'm looking at my Facebook timeline and I see a song for Pat Flynn. Now, this is an actual video, but I think the audio is going to translate perfectly well here. But the reality is watching the video, it's actually even kind of fun because of the, just the body movement and some of the looks on her face when she says certain things in this song. But she wrote a unique beatboxing kind of hip hop sounding song as her invitation for Pat Flynn to join our show. And I'm going to play that for you right here. So have a listen to this.
Yo, yo. This is the song, it's just for you, Pat Flynn. You're a total boss at beatboxing and podcasting. You're super fun and friendly. Man, I'm such a lucky girl to have met you at Social Media Marketing World. I podcast too. It's my own creation. I help design students with communication. You're such a great speaker. I just had to ask, would you consider being a guest on my podcast? My listeners will love you and they'd love to hear your speaking tips and how you overcame fear. Plus, I've got ideas for a really cool show. You could totally beatbox and I'll do the flow. I clearly need help with creating good beats because all I've got is this app and it just sounds crap. So what's in it for you? You're probably wondering, Pat. Well, if you say yes, I'll give you this hat.
So there you go. DesignDrawSpeak.com. And I will tell you that Pat said yes as soon as he saw the video, and he had already decided that he would definitely do the interview before he was even halfway through the video. So that was absolutely awesome. And, this thing, went mini viral in a way because I saw this, I shared it, and a bunch of my friends shared it. And, and get this, a 90-second invitation to please, Pat Flynn, come onto my podcast has already been viewed over 620 times on YouTube. So, I mean, I know that 620 views may not seem like a lot, but guys, this is a 90-second invitation from Christina to Pat Flynn to be on our podcast. I think it's pretty darn cool. And of course, now it's gone out to a couple thousand other people, which is, taking, her brand to a whole new level. And I love these kind of things. So the bar has been set just a little bit higher by Christina. Christina, congratulations on just being so darn creative. And you know what? The thing is I encourage everyone to go check out our podcast at DesignDrawSpeak.com. Follow her in social networking platforms everywhere. I am sure that if you do, you will be inspired by some of the actions that she's taking to network and connect with other folks out there. All right, next up, Clark Gaither was recently involved in an interview with somebody that he's gotten to know over the last bit of time here. I'm not sure how long he's been connected to this radio show host on WGBR 1150 AM. I can't tell where this was, but I think it was in North Carolina. But I want to play for you this audio clip of where he is actually in traditional media on the terrestrial radio and promoting podcasting to that community and also to the radio host. Have a listen to this.
Yeah. One of the things we want to talk about is the process of having a podcast. So tell us about that.
Well, I knew nothing about podcasting, and the reason I got into it was I was looking around for different ways to share my experience, strength, and hope in recovery. And I started my blog last July, HCP Recovery, or healthcareproviderrecovery.com. I've since switched it over to clarkgaither.com. But if you want to look at some really old posts, go to GSCPrecovery.com, and that's the old blog site.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends had gone to a media conference and came back. She said, I listened to this guy. His name was Cliff Ravenscraft. They call him the Podcast Answer Man. In fact, you can find him on podcastanswerman.com.
Mm-hmm.
And he teaches you how to start a podcast. And a podcast, think of it as internet radio. You know, we're on the radio right now.
Sure.
And it's something that you can download and listen to when you want on a subject that you might be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, wow, that might be another venue for me to share my experience, strength, and hope. So I took Cliff's course, Cliff Ravenscraft's course. It was 4 weeks. It was online. And I went from knowing nothing about podcasting to having my first podcast listed on iTunes in 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find The Power of Transformation on iTunes, Zune, BlackBerry, Swell, all these sites out there have The Power of Transformation up on as an offering under their podcast listing. So it's been exciting for me because I enjoy sitting behind the microphone. It was intimidating when I first started. I'm used to giving lectures. I've given hundreds of lectures up and down the East Coast on hypertension, cholesterol disorders, smoking cessation, addiction and recovery, physician burnout. But sitting in front of a microphone by yourself in a room
that's intimidating.
was quite different. But I've got my 7th episode up, and it's becoming more comfortable, and I'm really enjoying the process.
Excellent. And I'm grateful because we've been working together.
We're going to get you podcasting.
We're going to get me podcasting.
So there you go. Clark Gaither, number one, thank you so much for the shout out. I had forgotten that was in there. But yeah, obviously, thank you for the shout out, promoting podcastanswerman.com. But man, thank you for just promoting podcasting out there into the space, my friends. This is what it's all about. If you haven't heard my episode about making yourself newsworthy, I encourage you to go over to podcastanswerman.com/newsworthy and learn how you can actually get yourself onto your local television station, onto your local radio stations, as an expert guest in your area of interest. I think it's absolutely possible. I've known many people who have done this, and of course, what a great opportunity to promote your podcast and podcasting in general. And Clark, I'm just very excited for you, my friend. Clark, as you can tell, in there is another graduate of Podcasting A to Z, and you can find him at clarkgaither.com. That's GAITHER, clarkgaither.com. His podcast is The Power of Transformation. And yeah, I absolutely am thrilled. And matter of fact, I just see right here, episode number 8 is online. He's made it past dreaded number 7, and he is on a great roll right now and has some momentum behind him. And I'm very happy. So thanks a lot, Clark, for that, and congratulations for those achievements. Moving on here, recent thoughts on reading is the next thing that I have. You know what? Let me actually answer Dave's question real quick, and then I'll talk about my recent thoughts on reading. Dave recently emailed me this question. The question in the email says, "Hi, my name is Dave," and it actually had his last name, which I've redacted here. I work with a podcast channel called, and I've removed the name of the podcast channel. Now, first of all, why did I remove Dave's last name, and why did I remove the podcast channel name? Well, it's because I didn't get Dave's permission to share this email with you. All right, so I'll just be upfront and just transparent. Dave, I did not write back and say, "Hey, Dave, do you mind if I read your question and answer it on the show?" All right. So basically what I've decided is I've removed anything that could trace. I mean, this could be any Dave out there working with any podcast channel on the planet. So I'm sure there are a lot of podcasters named Dave. Unless there's only one Dave that's podcasting, then I've pretty much outed Dave for sending me this email. So, but this will make sense why I'm actually sharing all of this information with you when you hear the rest of the email. So he says, "My name is Dave. I work with such and such podcast channel. And here's the rest. I've read your blog post on voicemail options. Now, by the way, if you want to actually read my blog post on voicemail options, you can go to podcastanswerman.com/voicemail. Again, that's podcastanswerman.com/voicemail. Anyway, he said that he had read that. He says, we are going with Google Voice to start out. I was curious to know if you could point me in the right direction or provide more information on the legality of using listeners' voicemails. All right. He says, I am curious if we need to say anything along the lines of your voicemail is owned by us, etc. But I am not sure. I was not able to find an article on your website. What would you recommend? All right, so I already responded to Dave, and I didn't even think to tell him, hey, Dave, I'm gonna talk about this in the podcast as well. I assume that he's probably checking out Podcast Answer Man and he'd be listening to this, but maybe not. Anyway, I wrote back, and I pretty much was very straightforward. It's like, number one, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have legal answers for legal questions. It's just not something that I ever do. In over 350 episodes now, I've just never given any legal advice, and I refuse to even do so. Even though I may know the answers to some of the legal questions, I just choose not to give legal advice. So I said, number one, I'm not a lawyer. However, I can tell you what I do. All right. What I do is I go with common sense. You know, if people actually found my voicemail hotline, the only way they're getting that number is by going to my website and actually seeing the page that this is how you can actually call in a question or feedback or comment for the podcast. All right. And so it's very clear that if you're calling this phone number, this is what this number is for. It's what it's designed for. And then my voice message, it doesn't say, by the way, we own, the rights to transmit and use your voice in any product or service, blah, blah, blah. I don't have any of that legal mumbo jumbo. Instead, I wonder what my voicemail system actually says. I have no clue. But anyway, it actually, you know what? I think I could pull it up. I think that would probably be a good thing. How about I pull up Skype right now and I dial my voicemail, and you can actually hear the voicemail feedback voice message that I use. Okay, so I have Skype pulled up, and I have the phone number dialed in, which, by the way, if anybody wants it, it's 859-795-4067. Now, I will tell you that I still have this service using Broad Voice with a phone number, 859-795-4067. I still have that available. But with SpeakPipe, sometimes I wonder, do I still need it? I get plenty of questions that come in via SpeakPipe, and I don't think it'd be the end of the world if I didn't offer the telephone version anymore. But for whatever reason, I still have it right now, and I think I'm going to have it for the foreseeable future. But anyway, the phone number, 859-795-4067. If you were to call it, this is what you would get.
Hi, this is Cliff Ravenscraft, and you have reached the Podcast Answer Man and GSPN.TV listener feedback line. If you would like to leave a message for any of our shows, you may do so after the sound of the tone. Please start by telling us your name, where you're calling from, and which show your message is for. Then simply leave your message or question, and we will try to fit it into one of our upcoming episodes. If you're calling because you're interested in podcast consulting, please email cliff@podcastanswerman.com. Thank you so much for calling, and we look forward to hearing from you.
So there you go. I'll hang up. And so that's what it is. It very much, my voice message doesn't have any kind of legal talk, but it says you have reached the voicemail feedback hotline for our podcast. If you would leave your, tell us what show. Of course, I have multiple shows, so tell us what show it's for. And then, tell your name, where you're coming from, whatever you want to share, and leave your message. And I will try to include your message in an upcoming episode. So, I'm telling them what this is for on the thing. So that's what I recommend. I assume that if people are calling that phone number, they hear that as soon as they start talking into my voicemail, my assumption is that they understand that they're doing that this is actually going to be played in a podcast, potentially. All right? So that's what I assume. Now, of course, we all know what happens when you assume things. There are potential problems with that. I'm not a lawyer. If this is keeping you up at night, if this question of the legality of disclaimers and protection and all that stuff, if that's keeping you up all night, my recommendation is that you actually ask that same question to an actual attorney and not to somebody like me who does, my own philosophy is, it's like, I'm not ashamed of this philosophy. I do not recommend it for you. But my recommendation is that there are so many things in life where it's just easier to just ask for forgiveness than it is to seek permission. And I don't use that philosophy in places where I feel like it's not morally responsible for me to do so. But when it comes to things like this, that's the kind of way that I go for it. Again, not recommending it for you, just sharing that's been my own approach. And so far, 9 years doing this stuff, I've never had any problems with people with me playing their voicemail messages in my show. Now, if somebody calls and they're leaving me, rants and whatever, and they say, whatever you do, don't play this in your podcast episode. It depends on how I feel that day. But it's probably I'm not going to do that. And but if it's on my voicemail feedback hotline and say this might be included, then it's fair game. But I'm probably going to make the right choice in my mind of what's right and wrong. So anyway, there you go. That's my thought on it. All right. Let's see here. 24 minutes. I have just a little bit more time. This is not really podcast related, but I think it's related to some other interesting things, and that is how we take our understanding of life, the relationships. It's how we take our understanding of our core competency, all of these different things, our area of focus for our businesses, and just overall general things in every aspect, every area of life. We take things to the next level by reading great books. I really believe that. I mean, I'm a huge fan of creating audio content. I think that listening to audio podcasts is a great way to take in a lot of valuable principles, insights, and all of that good stuff. But there's something about actually reading a book that has been, well prepared and that has condensed and boiled down the most important information in such a way that it's logical from beginning to end. There's really nothing like a really good book. And of course, there are a lot of books that are not really good books out there. Tons of them. But some books off the top of my head, oh my goodness, I didn't even think that I was going to do this, but I will. Since it's real easy for me to, I'm going to open up I've got my iPad mini with Retina right in front of me. And let's see here. I am going to open up the Kindle app, and I'm going to tell it to show me the cloud. And I'm just going to read off some books that I think are really great books. And doing that right here. I've got all these different things that are popping up. Library, let's do that. Cloud, and let's do grid. Okay. Necessary Endings is one book that I'm reading right now. It is a great book if you have a business. I think it's geared towards businesses, but even if you don't have your own business, Necessary Endings I think is great for employees and all kinds of other people. Even if you're not a business person, it's about the understanding seasons of life and knowing that there are definitely things are definitely going to change over time, and sometimes we hold on to things for too long when we know that, this thing just needs to end. And some endings are absolutely necessary. So that's Necessary Endings by Dr. Henry Cloud. I'm reading a faith-based book from somebody who was one of my most regarded mentors in my life as far as spiritual mentorship, and was like a father to me in many ways. Dr. David Foster. He passed away just over 2 years ago. And I'm reading his book called A Renegade's Guide to God, Finding Life Outside of Conventional Christianity by Dr. David Foster, A Renegade's Guide to God. I love this book. Thou Shall Prosper by Rabbi Daniel Lapin. Absolutely essential business reading. If you own a business at all, if you actually earn money at all, you should read Thou Shall Prosper. That is a must read in my opinion. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. I think this the author can tend to be read in such a way that in many parts of the book it's very egotistical, and so there's a little bit of the flavor of the book that I'm not too crazy about, but the information, especially about the mind, your money blueprint and programming around the first third of the book is absolutely amazing, and I found the entire book to be quite encouraging overall, and it's still one I highly recommend. It's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Let's see here. I'm just trying to look at some other books. I've started reading Stand and Deliver. It's about public speaking from Dale Carnegie. It's Dale Carnegie training, Stand and Deliver. I've enjoyed everything that I've read in it, but it just hasn't captured me, and I haven't gone back to it after I think chapter 1 or 2. I look forward to going back someday, but we'll see. The Millionaire Messenger by Brendan Burchard is a good book. I wouldn't say it's an absolute must read, but it's definitely a good book. EntreLeadership is one of those books that is absolutely so packed full of information that I don't recommend that you listen to it as an audiobook. I really prefer reading. I would have preferred reading that as an ebook, and it looks like I actually did purchase it as a full-blown ebook, and I haven't gone back and reread it yet. I did listen to the entire thing, however, as an audiobook on Audible, and found so much information, but I missed probably 70% of everything he said, because he would say something so amazing, and my mind is spinning down an entire new journey as a result of that. So that was really great. The Strangest Secret, it was originally a 45-minute audio program from Earl Nightingale. You can get it probably for 99 cents on Kindle. It's called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. Absolutely awesome little read, and I think it's an essential thing. Another faith-based book called 3 Free Sins by my friend Steve Brown. I did an interview with him and talked about that book a little bit at gspn.tv/Steve Brown or gspn.tv/3 Free Sins, all spelled out. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think it's an essential book to read. Wasn't one of my favorite reads, but certainly an essential book to read when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. I read the Steve Jobs biography by Walter Isaacson. I'm just an Apple fanboy. I don't think it's an essential read, but it is a long read, and I think it was definitely worth my time to read it, so I enjoyed it. So You Don't Want to Go to Church Anymore by Wayne Jacobson. That's a really near and dear book to my heart. Certainly faith-based and certainly controversial as well. But I really enjoyed that book. Rework by Jason Fried. And Rework by Jason Fried is a super quick read. And absolute, I think it's a must. I really do. I think there's a lot of valuable, just little short insights. You can pick up, read a couple insights, and then put it down and pick it up later when you want a little bit more. Or in one afternoon, you could read the whole thing. Think and Grow Rich is an amazing book. Took me a long time because of some of my preconceived ideas about certain things. And so it took me longer than I think it should have to read that book. But I don't agree. I think I probably agree with about 70 to 80% of what's there, and the things that are true, I believe are true no matter what. And it's been a valuable asset for me to have read that book. That's from Napoleon Hill. Another book that I have read from Napoleon Hill, and I can't see it in here right now immediately. Okay, so the other book that from Napoleon Hill is called Outwitting the Devil, and probably a controversial book as well, but really something valuable. I really enjoyed that one, and that one, yeah, a little bit faith-based, a little bit business-based. I just recommend it. I enjoyed that book. The 4-Hour Workweek, there's more people love that than I think should, but I think I recall really enjoying the book 4-Hour Workweek overall. And Timothy Ferriss, he became very popular because of it. But yeah, so those are some of the books. Now, one of the things that I have found recently is that I have found myself going back to my actual Kindle. I've had, let's see, I started out with the Kindle 3 years ago, and then I went to a Kindle Touch, and going from the Kindle 3 to the Kindle Touch was a little bit difficult because the Kindle Touch is very much recessed. The screen was recessed, and I remember just being so upset about that. Then they came out with the Kindle Paperwhite, and I didn't go to the Kindle Paperwhite. Instead, I went to the iPad Mini. And then, of course, they had the iPad Mini, and I was reading quite a bit on the iPad Mini, and then they came out with the iPad Mini with Retina, and I went ahead and upgraded to the iPad Mini with Retina, and I really enjoyed reading on that for a while. But then I found myself playing games instead of reading, checking my email instead of reading, checking my social networks instead of reading, and I found myself reading less and less and less and less. And the other day, I went outside and I wanted to read something, and I took my iPad outside. And you walk outside on a sunny day, there is no reading. I don't care. There is not a brightness bright enough for you to read anything on your iPad Mini with Retina or iPad anything, and to be out in the sunlight and read. It's just not going to happen. So I came back inside, and I happened to have still have my Kindle Touch. And I went out in the sun, and just the, absolute sun is blaring right down on this little e-ink display. And it reminded me how much I loved my Kindle. Oh my gosh. And the distraction free and absolutely loving it. So I just want to let you know that between a Kindle Touch and an iPad Mini with Retina, hands down, I prefer reading on my Kindle Touch. Now, I happen to have the Kindle Touch with the official Amazon lighted case. So it's a leather case with the little light that comes out over the top. It's not a Paperwhite. Now, I have been thinking, it's like, okay, well, maybe I should go, maybe I want to go to the Paperwhite. And I've been thinking about that. And of course, I did some searching, and I think the 2013 Paperwhite is the one that's out there right now. And I did a little research, and I found that there are rumors about a 2014 Paperwhite coming out that might have more of an HD, a very high resolution e-ink display, better battery life, and a bunch of other, a couple other improvements over the current Paperwhite. And you know what? I think I'm just going to wait. I think I'm going to wait until the new Paperwhite comes out, and I'm probably going to buy whatever the next Kindle Paperwhite e-ink reader will be available. And who knows, if I find that I don't like it as much as I like the current Kindle Touch that I have here, then I'll stick with it. I'm also a huge fan, by the way, of having the Kindle Touch 3G. It is more expensive than the the Wi-Fi only version of the Kindle, but the 3G doesn't cost you anything extra as far as a monthly fee. And I do like the fact that I can be out on the go and purchase, search for and purchase a book without being connected to Wi-Fi. Of course, I have so many ways to have Wi-Fi now, but still, I do like the 3G model more than that. And I also prefer the one without the ads. I pay extra to have the ads removed so that I don't see those ads. I don't like those ads. And not to mention the fact that when it's turned off, it actually has some pretty decent, little cool cover art graphics and stuff like that. When I come back to my Kindle, it has those nice little things on the display. But it's I've been changing the way that I read. I'm reading a whole lot more now that I'm back to my Kindle Touch again, and I don't know why I ever left it. I do know why. It was a review of somebody else about the Paperwhite, and then I went and got the iPad Mini, and I thought, well, since I've and by the way, the iPad Mini worked for a very long time. I was very self-disciplined for a very long time about reading on my iPad Mini, and then it just became a media consumption device. I'm sitting there watching, TV shows that I missed on their, like the A&E app or the, TNT app or whatever, and I'm watching. It's just become a device. And by the way, I love my iPad Mini. I really love the iPad Mini with Retina. but I don't love it for reading. And the one thing I will tell you is that reading in the daylight, even inside on the iPad mini with Retina, I still get a glare. Even the slightest little glare from any light source, it kind of bugs me a little bit. And I find that when I'm reading at night, that backlit display shining from behind the screen into my eyes, it's just not a pleasant experience. And I think the Paperwhite has this great idea, and I think the Kobo or it might have been the whoever the other people are, that other device that's still kicking, I think, that may not be kicking for a whole lot longer. But the other, who is that? Barnes & Noble reader or whatever? The Nook, that's it. I think the Nook had the e-ink with light display built in with a layer of light over top of the screen going into the e-ink. I think that's the same thing that the Paperwhite is doing. And I think it's a cool technology. I do remember my friend Michael Hyatt saying that, it's kind of splotchy because the implementation. So I'm waiting till the 2014 Paperwhite comes out. I'll probably pre-order one because I do enjoy reading so much. I'll do my best to see if I can get a list of those books into the show notes. And everything that I talk about today will be found over at podcastanswerman.com/354. podcastanswerman.com/354. Now, my friends, let's go ahead and transition over to Eric Fisher. Before I do that, let me play this little promo for Podcasting A to Z.
Are you thinking of launching your own podcast and don't know where to start?
You could have your own high-quality podcast online in just under 4 weeks, even if you have absolutely no technical knowledge about how podcasting works.
Intrigued? Since 2006, Cliff Ravenscraft, a podcast answer man, has trained thousands of people on how to launch a successful podcast. Cliff has coached top-ranked podcasters such as Pat Flynn, Michael Hyatt, Michael Stelzner, Dan Miller, John Lee Dumas, and the list goes on. Podcasting A to Z is a 4-week group training course that leads you step by step through the setup of your very own podcast. Not just the technical side, but also the mindset that goes into creating a successful show as well. One thing is certain. At the end of 4 weeks, you will have experienced one of the best investments you can make in taking your message to the next level. To learn more details about the course, head to podcastinga2z.com. Podcastinga2z.com.
All right, my friends, it's that time for our social media segment with my good friend and social media correspondent, Eric J. Fisher. Eric, first thing I want to talk about is, do you have a new Twitter profile yet?
I do now.
So I'm going to Eric with a K, the letter J, Fisher. And so there it is. And tell me, what's the story? Why the road with the horizon in the sky and everything? What's the story behind why you chose that photo?
Well, I was looking for something that kind of, one was kind of like, okay, I'm out there, I'm walking, I'm on a journey. Actually, truth be told, it was somewhat reminiscent of the one you used to have as your Facebook cover photo.
Yeah.
And even your wallpaper, where it was like, nice, refreshing, like you're out there traveling and moving and feeling like you're not sitting behind a desk. And actually, it's almost somewhat reminiscent of the cover or the album art for This Is Your Life from Michael Hyatt's podcast. So.
Yeah, it is very much. And I like the imagery because it gives me the impression of, I can't actually see what's on the horizon. I cannot. All I see is the road ahead, and it's the path before me is clear, but where it's leading to, I don't necessarily know. I can't see that clearly.
That almost sounded like a song.
Yeah. So anyway, so you obviously have chosen a very huge picture, and this is one of my favorite things about the new Twitter profile. Now, I happen to have a 27-inch iMac, which means that I can make your Twitter profile really huge. And fill up a 27-inch screen. And I love the fact that you can put a very high resolution cover image for your new Twitter profile, which, by the way, we should mention to people that Twitter has now made it possible for us to have a more Facebook-like Twitter profile.
Yeah, and they've made this available where you can now just go click get it now and get it, which is why I have it, because otherwise, they were rolling it out bit by bit, and then somebody out there I follow tweeted, hey, you can get it now. And I clicked through and there was a button and I just clicked it and now I have it.
Yeah. In fact, you can go to gspn.tv/new Twitter. And if you haven't done so already, you can go ahead and do that right now. But anyway, and of course, one of the things I love that when you get on that landing page, it really does show how you can have a gigantic image and it will automatically size the image to, it's basically responsive design. So whether they're viewing it on an iPad or if they're viewing it on a normal resolution website, or if somebody's got you full screen on a 27-inch iMac, if you have a high enough resolution photo, it can actually look really good. And I'm a huge fan of this design element. I was a fan of the cover image when Facebook gave us the big image at the top. I know that Google Plus did it next, and now with this big, huge emphasis on an image at the top of the page, it's wonderful, and it can be used for branding as well. I personally have chosen not to necessarily put my logo up there, but you can. But Eric, you right now I see that you have this big image of the road ahead.
Yeah, and I may come up with something different at some point, but one thing to note is that actually remember where you'd have a 3 different things that you'd have to think about in terms of your Twitter profile branding, where you'd have your headshot, your avatar, preferably a headshot, that is. And then you'd got the image that we were just talking about, which was kind of your cover image, your background image. But then there was this, not really a background image, but then the kind of template or theme or, larger, on the left, on the right, all your borders, your color scheme and all that kind of stuff. That, I mean, it was big business is debatable, but businesses literally or services out there that were like, hey, we will design your Twitter profile design. Do you remember these?
I do. And in fact, I kind of customized mine a bit. And, there you could tell ones that, spent some time on this or at least invested in some money for folks to, make it look nice for them. And then you can tell the ones who have attempted to do it themselves without too much of a design sense of their own. And which, by the way, is me. But anyway, now they have pretty much said, okay, these new Twitter profiles, yes, you can upload this huge, gigantic cover image. You can upload your profile picture, if you will, or your avatar. But the rest of the page is going to be pretty much standard. Everybody's is going to look the same. And Facebook did this as well. And it's one of the things that actually drew me originally to Facebook, because before Facebook, it was MySpace. And MySpace had this problem with sparkly, blinking glitter graphics everywhere.
And GIFs and, crazy. And auto-playing music.
Yeah, they had all those things, but still, what drew me was I like order. I like things that are standardized. That you click a button, you kind of almost know what to expect when you load up the next page. It's not going to all of a sudden give you a seizure because it's strobing lights in your face. So, but anyway, I love the clean look. It is totally, everybody is calling it a Facebook-like profile. And okay, I see where they're coming with that. But I mean, I don't know if I would call it Facebook-like. I think it's unique from Facebook in some ways.
Yeah, I think it's unique. I mean, it's similar in some ways. It's unique in others. And by the way, just wait for Facebook to make changes again, and then it won't be. So
exactly. There you go. Hey, the cool thing I like about Twitter's profiles, and I've always liked, is the fact that you can put in a short little brief bio. And oftentimes, what you put in the bio can be hyperlinked, and of course, that depends on if you put a link in your profile, whether that's being viewed on a certain application or not, whether or not it's a hyperlink. But you can certainly put a link to one website address that you drive people to, and I love this. This, of course, is almost like a badge of honor for some of the early adopters. I like the fact that they show the date you joined Twitter.
Right.
So I can see that, Eric, you joined January 2008, which means that you were pretty early on.
Yeah, and this is my second account. I had one in 2007.
Okay, cool. I figured you did, because I thought you got one right around the time I did.
Oh, yeah, totally. You're a trendsetter.
So I see that, and of course, they highlight a couple things here. the videos and photos that you've been uploading over time, those sort of get a little bit of an extra treatment now. So it's, you obviously have your normal tweets, which the standard tweet, and this actually I see starting to change over time. I think I could see a day where a standard tweet almost, not always includes, but a good percentage, an increasing percentage of tweets include photos, videos, or something else. But photos and videos now actually get a little bit of special treatment. So I can land on your profile, and you might have a ton of text tweets, which you do. But if I really want to get a feel for a visual representation of the kind of content that you're sharing on Twitter, I can either on the left-hand side of your profile at twitter.com/EricJFisher, I can go down to the left-hand side, and it says photos and videos. It says you have 781 of those that you've shared. And so I can click there, or they have the ability to, I guess they have a navigational menu. It shows the number of tweets you have, the photos and videos, how many people you're following, how many followers you have, how many things you favorited. And so if I click on your photos and videos, then I get almost like a mini Pinterest-like. And I will say this one does look a ton like Facebook.
The post and
the two-column layout of the images. But this really does give me a feel for who Eric Fisher is in a visual sense. And I kind of like that. So if I were to want to, let's just say, find out who someone is that I just heard about, I think that I would prefer going to somebody's new Twitter profile to find out a little bit more about who they are and what they're doing than I would Facebook or even LinkedIn. I kind of like the more, I think that Twitter's a little bit more revealing in that way.
Yeah, I agree. I like this, and especially I like the outlook of the, being able to click on that photos and videos and being able to see, what kind of visual content they're putting out there. It's pretty cool.
The other thing is of course I can see the thing. I mean, these things were all available before. The photos and videos, I could have seen them before. Your favorites, these are some, that's something I could have investigated in more heavily. I could have investigated earlier. But it's more prominent now. So it's very easy for me to just, like, for example, look and see the 52 tweets that you've favorited since you've had your account. And it kind of gives me a feel for the things that you like the most, which is, it can give us some unique insight into who you are. And then there's the More tab. And since the More tab only has one thing under it, which is lists, I don't know why they didn't just put lists and then change it when they had more. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I actually do click on your lists, and I see that you have your productivity gurus list, your beyond the to-do list, your tools list, and your comedy list. And I see how many members or Twitter profiles you've added to those lists. And so I can go through and check those lists out for myself and potentially even follow those lists and stuff like that. So
yep. Yeah, and you can.
It's clean. I like it. I feel like it's one of those springtime commercials where you're watching TV and they show, the person's doing the laundry outside, and they have this clothes basket, and the lady pulls out this clean, bright, super fresh sheet, and she's, flaps it into the breeze and then hangs it up on the clothesline, and it's just so light and clean and airy. And that's exactly how I would describe the new Twitter profiles. You said new Twitter, and that somehow shuffled or jostled memories in my head back circa September 2010, I believe, around the time of PodCamp Boston 5, I think it was. And we were all up in arms about, hey, we want new Twitter. And that was like at least 2 generations ago. Yeah, and
or maybe just one, but still, they've kind of that was the last major overhaul.
Yeah, and this one I'm really excited about. Of course, we were excited about the one that we have, the current one, but this is the new Twitter, and it's not Twitter Classic like Coke Classic, but it is the new Twitter.
This is Tweet Zero.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to see my new Twitter profile, I'm pretty proud of it. You can go over to twitter.com/GSPN for Generally Speaking Production Network. And my photo at the top is a picture of one of my most recent community meetups of people who were
nice.
Podcasting A to Z students and alumni. And
I'm right there in the
Mastermind.
center.
And there's Eric Fisher.
I'm
Look
like
at that.
photobombing over Michael Stelzner's head.
So yes, you are. So anyway, that I love that, and of course that's the same image I use on my Facebook profile currently. And I really feel that this is a nice, clean look, and it's actually less cluttered than Facebook, in my opinion. I like it more than I do Facebook as far as this design. The only thing I hate is right now I click on home and it takes me back to the old design. The only thing that's new about the new Twitter is my new profile. So I'm hoping that they'll transition everything over to this new look and feel and stuff like that. But
yeah, one thing we forgot to mention is the fact that you have the ability to pin a tweet now.
Oh yes, thank you. So did you pin a tweet? I did.
I did, yeah. I pinned one that was actually, it was a retweet, and I think I'll pin different ones periodically. I see yours is about the 350th student that just registered for Podcasting A to Z.
Yes,
about 2 weeks ago almost.
Yeah, I chose that tweet because it's something that if somebody's coming for the very first time, this is something, and that is a way that I kind of branded my Twitter profile. No matter when they come to my Twitter profile, that pinned tweet is the first tweet they will see on my list. And it does have it has my Podcasting A to Z logo there, and it does actually have a stat or a statistic or not necessarily, no, it has a fact that is a compelling fact for what I do and who I am, and that I've got this thing that's called Podcasting A to Z. And there's an average of 20 some odd people that have taken each and every course that I've produced, and over 350 people now have signed up for it. So I like that. That's it kind of represents me and my brand and what I really want promoted first and foremost. And of course, that's in competition with my actual text profile or bio. And so, what I have in my bio is pretty darn important to me, but that tweet kind of just adds a little bit of extra. This is who I am, and this is what's, I think, most important for me to tell you, who's investigating who I am on Twitter, about myself.
Yeah, totally.
So real quickly here, I noticed one other thing that you have in your link. You have beyondthetodolist.com. So basically, if somebody from Twitter was to look at the link that you have in your main link in your Twitter profile, you just send them to your main homepage. I used to do this as well. I'd love to give everyone out there my feelings on something that you could do to kind of take your Twitter profile default link to the next level.
Do it.
And that is to send them to a specialized page. Now, some people, and of course, if I was to do this really well, I probably would actually create a nice professional looking video and put it in it, upload it to YouTube and embed it onto a page that welcomes people to my website and saying, thank you. Obviously you are watching this video because you clicked on the link in my Twitter profile, and welcoming them and giving them a kind of a view of, what's going on there. I haven't gone that far. I probably should, but my default link does not just go to podcastanswerman.com. My default link takes them to podcastanswerman.com/4reasons, which is the number 4 reasons, which is a very important blog post where they can either watch one of 2 videos or they could watch both. The first video is a 10-minute video on 4 reasons why you should create a podcast. And the second video is a 49-minute video of a talk that I gave at Michael Hyatt's Platform Conference, which is why you should create a podcast within the next 90 days. So,
and hasn't it been more than 90 days now since you gave that talk?
It has, and I will tell you that over 50 people who were in the audience of that particular talk have already created a podcast.
Awesome.
And not to mention a couple hundred other people outside of that have. Wow, that was loud. So I'm just looking. That video has now been seen 5,420 times.
Wow.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So anyway, the cool thing is that you could actually have a specialized page that you're driving traffic to, and not only that, but it actually can help you in your analytics find out how many people are actually clicking that particular link on Twitter to come to your website. And then you can even follow, okay, now of those people who clicked on the link from my Twitter profile, what did they do after that? Did they leave the site, or did they go to a different page that perhaps I was leading them toward?
Data-driven decision-making. I love it.
There you go. Twitter. Yep, love it.
I like it.
I do too. And by the way, just a quick update, Eric. We talked about getting back to the more human feel of Twitter a couple months ago, or maybe 2 months ago, or something like that. And I will tell you that Twitter and Facebook are still running neck and neck for how much I enjoy interacting with people. I still find myself getting much more long-term engagement from conversation on Facebook, which I really love. But going back and using Twitter like I did in 2007, which is just purely relational. I might do some self-promotion there every now and then, but it's really, I am more along the lines of you getting on Twitter when I'm around and just, instantaneous communication with a large group of people saying, hey, what's up? I enjoy it like I enjoyed it in 2007, 2008.
Yeah, and I even responded to somebody posting what they had for lunch today, and it was actually meaningful. So I really enjoy Twitter, and I enjoy the new Twitter.
I do as well. Hey, Eric, I know that there is one big new piece of information in your life. I think that I've heard through the grapevine that you might actually be working for yourself now.
That is true. I am employed by myself.
So you're no longer with the university, and tell folks real quickly, what kind of work are you actually doing, so that if anybody's interested in hiring you for any of those products and services, they can contact you.
Yeah, well, and actually right now, currently, I am working on a social media consulting project, and then I also have slots available for productivity and even podcasting coaching. So.
Excellent. And if people want to get in touch with you, where should they go to find you?
Honestly, I should just give people my email address.
All right, go right ahead.
Just Eric with a K, the letter J, FISHER @gmail.com, and Eric with a K, the letter J, FISHER on Twitter is where you can hit me up there, or go to beyondthetodolist.com.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what, it is a scary thing starting out on your own, and I am certainly going to be keeping you in my thoughts and prayers as you embark upon this journey of self-employment. And I have no doubt, with the amount of time and effort and energy you've given to really encouraging people and bringing valuable information to their lives, that you're going to find some great success out there. So, folks, if you guys are looking for some social media advice, productivity advice, or even want to just get some one-on-one consultation on your podcasting efforts, if you're not into podcasting A to Z, or maybe if you've gone through podcasting A to Z and you just want to run some things off of Eric to talk to him about his experience and what he might think about your show or stuff like that, give him an email or send him an email, Eric with the letter K, the letter J, FISHER @gmail.com. Eric, thank you so much, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Cliff. Thanks for having me on.
Well, my friends, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Podcast Answer Man. Thank you for tuning in again this week. And by the way, I do need to say thank you to a lot of people. I don't know why there seems to be such a rush of use on my Bluehost affiliate link, but I'm certainly happy about it. Obviously, I know about 3 or 4 of these folks are podcasting A to Z students, but still, even beyond that, there's a lot of you signing up for hosting accounts over there at Bluehost using my affiliate link. And of course, when you use my affiliate link to set up for your hosting account with Bluehost, I do get a very generous commission. I mean, I'm talking a very generous commission, my friends. And if you want to learn all about my thoughts about hosting your website on Bluehost or whatever service you want to host it on, and also about where you should host your MP3 files and why those should be different than your website, head over to podcastanswerman.com/hosting. Again, podcastanswerman.com/hosting. Now, here's my thank you list. Thank you to the folks behind JoshuaSnow.com, TeachingBooksPodcast.com, AccidentallyCondescending.com, Aloha Jacks? That must be it. AlohaJacks.com, EarHustlingPodcast.com, EggTooth.com. That's it's egg, the number 2, th.com. Anyway, EggTooth.com, YourContentFactory.com, and Got Lit Radio, like Got Literature. Anyway, GotLitRadio.com. Thank you to all of you for using my affiliate link when signing up for your Bluehost hosting account over there at podcastanswerman.com/hosting. And let's see here. One final thing. Again, I am getting ready to go into next week will be my final week of my 16th session of podcasting A to Z. We have 23 students who are in this current session, and things are going extremely well. In fact, yesterday we had our first student already submit their brand new podcast to iTunes, and I suspect many more of those will happen this weekend, and certainly a huge rush of new podcasters flooding the market next week during our final week together. If you want to sign up for Podcasting A to Z, my next course starts Monday, June 2nd. All the information at podcastinga2z.com. Again, that's podcastinga2z.com. And you know what? With just a couple more seconds, just a quick shout out. I just want to say thanks to my really good friend Grant Baldwin for just hanging out with me this week to talk about my upcoming keynote talk at the Podcast Movement Conference. Had a good chat with him and really feeling good about the direction about my talk. Anyway, God bless.
Helping you to get the thing you do to the next level.
We'll talk to you next week. See you then.
Podcast Answer Man.